What is up with it? Today we are going to be watching some Blackbeard versus Shanks. This is going to be on Ludi Photo's Twitch. Shoutouts to Ludi Photo. Looks like we won the rock, paper, scissors. Also mulligan to hand with a zombie Luffy. Very interesting to see. That is a card that I've always felt like could be experimented in Blackbeard. I'm not 100% sure what the applications are now. I always felt like before, being able to hit Teach or the 1-drops versus Doflamingo could be quite good. Just being a sticky body, big body, repeated removal. But gonna go ahead and grab a Doc Q off of the island. This is a matchup that I'm sure a lot of people are super anticipating, with Blackbeard and Shanks being probably two of the 3 or 4 decks that people are most expecting to really see a lot of play. And Ludi Photo obviously being a player with a lot of time on Blackbeard, I'm really interested in seeing how he decides to navigate this matchup. Blackbeard and Shanks both having a real chance at being best deck in format now that some of the other decks like Doflamingo and Lucci have definitely been hit. And BY, of course, as well. Kind of historically, those 3 decks for the better part of a year have been the gatekeepers. Those are the decks that have kept everything else at bay. I have to imagine we're going to want to keep this Liberation as our opponents going into their 6th Dawn turn. A lot of the time we're going to be expecting them to play that new starter deck 21 Luffy, especially once they've shown us this Zoro. It gives us a good idea that they're probably on a little bit of a Straw Hat package. I'm going to swing 5. We're still at 5 life here. Just going to go ahead and take and trigger the This Is My Age. Going to go ahead and swing 5 again. We'll go ahead and counter with the Shiryu. Maybe this isn't the Luffy then. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and go Zoro. The unfortunate thing about that is that, well, we do have the Burgess on board, so we can't Liberation anyways, actually. But we can Black Hole. I think it's really funny that Sim has both cards as Liberation. Kind of funny that that never got updated, but I would rather Batsu spend his time doing literally anything other than that, so I'm glad it hasn't been updated. Shout out to Batsu, the literal GOAT. Please go sub to his Patreon. He's the literal GOAT. He deserves everything. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and swing 9 at one of these Zoros. I'm not sure I love this. Yeah, because ultimately what that means is like this is gonna replace itself. Which, by the way, this ruling, I'm not sure what the sim is gonna do. Okay, so the sim did it correctly. The way that Bandai officially rules it is that Yasop says until the end of your opponent's next turn. And if it's played during their turn, it ends at that turn, which is a ruling I super strongly disagree with. Maybe it's just like a translation thing. I'm not sure. But to me, if you say, let's get lunch next Tuesday, and it's currently Tuesday morning, I'm not thinking you mean let's get lunch today, So when they say end of your opponent's next turn, I understand that the way that it is being interpreted is your opponent's next end phase, basically, to use like a Yu-Gi-Oh term. But I think the wording and how that is being interpreted is just blatantly wrong, to be completely truthful. So we went ahead and we swung at the Burgess a couple times saying, hey, my Blackbeard opponent is very low on cards in hand. Probably we can go ahead and try and put them to basically no cards in hand. And Ludi able to counter out. And now we're going to kind of do the same thing. Interesting that we swung at the Luffy first. I almost feel like getting rid of the Yasop would be a little bit more important, as the Yasop can make our Burgess smaller. But maybe we decided that the Yasop doesn't matter that much when we know they're just going to drop a 10 Shanks, which I gotta be honest, if our opponent has more 10 Shanks, I feel like we're going to be in trouble. Feel like we will most certainly be in trouble. But, you know, we have a significantly more searchable top end than they do. So hopefully we're just able to find more 10 drops than they are. We do have a nice 2 life cushion here. But if this Shanks player has a lot more rush, it could be scary for us. Like, this is a position where we're not in love with blocking, because if they drop a Shanks, you know, that could be problematic. We also chose not to leader effect last turn. Deciding that if they did have the Beckman or the Dragon, then that's just how it's going to be. We weren't in a super great spot. We can free block this pretty easily with the Rayleigh here, I believe. Or the Chopper. Either one is fine. And our opponent does have a Dawn up, potentially representing like a Rad Beam. But at the same time, they don't necessarily have to have one. So deciding on if we want to swing this Blackbeard. If we swing it, we almost for sure put them down to 2. Which means that we will only need 3 swings to connect next turn, which is quite nice. I don't think we have to be worried too much about them dropping a rush card to punish this Blackbeard being sideways. Because even if they were to drop a Shanks, they swing 12 into 11, we just 2k out of it. So I don't think we're worried about that. And our opponent is somewhat representing that they are willing to do that here. This is a spot where you don't, you don't love going to 1 card in hand, certainly. I'm not exactly sure what I would do here. I think I almost wonder if it's like too insane to block, you know? Because like our opponent probably doesn't want to put his Rayleigh sideways. And if he plays a Shanks, and he swings into any of our bodies, we're chilling. So I'm wondering what the reason for not blocking there is. But he's going to go ahead and play a Rayleigh here. Just try and make our board a little bit smaller. Probably keep a couple Dawn up. Saying like, hey, maybe don't go for game here. But now that we have not drawn another 10 drop, I think we're going to probably be forced to. I mean, we could probably survive one more turn with the Vasco shot. I think that's definitely possible. But we'd have to really think about it. I mean, we'd have 3 blockers and a life. Okay, so we have decided that we can survive, especially if we find a second Vasco. We also now know how many cards deep our 10 drops are. We know we're not going to find any more. So we're definitely going to want to swing before committing to any Vasco shots. Just to play around the Red Hawk on the Vasco. But with 4 blockers here, we're essentially going to be at 5 life. Our opponent's going to have to get 5 swings through, which is just not realistic, I don't think. If they have like double 3-drop Zoro, I think they'd actually probably get there. Well, they'd have to get 6 attacks through. So I actually do think maybe not. Actually, double 3-drop Zoro doesn't get there if we have 2 2Ks in hand. I'm wondering if we are going to... Nope, we've still decided that we are committed to not leader affecting. And we're also not going to turn this Burgess sideways. Deciding that can just easily get leader affected and all that. So we know as the Blackbeard that we are not finding any more 10 drops. So realistically, we have to kill next turn. I can't imagine a world where we survive another turn. So honestly, if the Shanks player can just find a way to survive one more turn, they should be okay. I have to imagine this is a pretty free block with the Blackbeard. Given the fact that we have double Vasco to protect the Blackbeard, I'm not exactly sure what the downside would be. Perhaps it would be that... Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I think this is a pretty easy block. I feel like this is a snap block. You're getting like kind of infinite value off this block. Please let me know in the comments if you think there's a real downside to blocking with this Blackbeard. None that I can think of, to be honest. I feel like dealing with an AK swing seems pretty reasonable to me. Okay, so gonna go ahead and swing 5. I imagine this will be met with just a counter, maybe. Okay, so at this point, the Shanks player has to know that he's never killing this turn. So he's going to go ahead and try and wall up, probably with some Rayleighs, maybe a Lucky Roo. Maybe he leaves up a lot of Dawn, which is the way it looks like things are going. Okay, so we're just going to counter out of this one. Okay. So, will they play a second blocker, I'm wondering. Yeah, they will, in the Lucky Roo. I have to imagine we're going to island here looking for a... We did not find it. We didn't find anything, which honestly doesn't matter. I think regardless of if we found nothing or we found anything that wasn't... Black hole, or a way to get us to black hole like Lafitte. I think it didn't change our play either way. So we just kind of have to figure out what our numbers are here. I guess hitting might have mattered depending on number of cards engraved, because if we're one short, then hitting could have mattered because it could have boosted our Burgess by one. But it's kind of really hard for me to imagine us getting through here. I kind of think it's not doable. This triple blocker is just going to be really, really tough. Really, really, really tough. This is kind of the problem with not going for games sometimes. Versus these decks that can play blockers like this. Like the historic example is Lucci. It's like sometimes you don't have guaranteed game versus Lucci, but you still have to go for it. Because you can kind of map it out where if they just like play Rebecca Sabo the following turn, it's like infinitely harder for you to go for game. Like it's like nearly impossible. I don't even know what we're doing here. 10 is the first swing. Is that real? But yeah, sometimes you just have to go for it sooner. I feel like we're just cooked. I don't think the math ever gets us there. I'm gonna let Photo cook, but I don't know how we ever get there. Especially after our opponent was able to draw 2 trash 1. Feels like cycling our hand a little bit there is really strong. Yeah, he's like, GG, man. I got this. Just concede. Yeah, I mean, one of the real crux of the issues here is that Lucky Roo's get a trade with one of the blockers. If it wasn't for that, then like maybe we'd have hope. Because if they had to block like all 3 of our big swings and we still have 2 Vasco and a life, if they only have 3 swings on board, then maybe we're chilling. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what Photo was thinking about here. I think his opponent also does not know. And now we will concede. All right, GG. I feel like this could have maybe been a winnable game from the Blackbeard side. The only thing I can really think of that maybe I would have like seen different is what did the landscape look like this turn? So we would have had 4 swings, they all have to connect. This is a 9. This is only a 6 and a 5. So it would have been like 9, 10, 11, 11. Yeah, it feels like it probably doesn't really get through. I kind of wonder. I don't know. I feel like somewhere along the line maybe we could have won, but I'm uncertain exactly what we had to do different. Anyways, I didn't mean to skip that far back. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day.